Greetings YouTube, welcome to 0AD Newbie Rush. I'm Jim Kogan, and a bit of a change this week. Joining me from the other side of the world is Amadeus, better known as prominent 0AD player Baduso, mod maker and YouTuber as well. Glad you're here, nice to have you here, Baduso.
Thanks for having me, Jim. Hope you have a great game here.
No problem. I'm relying on you to, on the bits where the viewers want somebody who knows what they're talking about, you're going to step in. But we'll see how it goes. Let's introduce today's players, because it's quite a high-profile game. We have, in the north of the map, in the blue, playing as the Ghouls, Dr. Organs, rated 1914. And down in the south of the map, in the red, it is FFM, rated 1685, playing as the Persians. Right, before they get stuck in, Baduso, what do you know about these two players? So starting with Dr. Organs, have you played against him much?
Yeah, I've played against Dr. Organs before, and most of the time Dr. Organs gets the better end of it. He's a very aggressive player, which counters my playstyle. And FFM is also another very aggressive player. I think this game will probably be a lot of raids between each other.
Absolutely, it looks to be shaping that way up. As we can see, Dr. Organs has already got 5 cavalry out already, so I think he's setting his stall out early. He's playing as the Ghouls. We spoke off camera possibly that these players at this level tend to go random when it comes to Civ. If you were to compare the two, who would you prefer, Ghouls or Persians?
Yeah, definitely Ghouls has the upper edge here. It's fine, to play as Persians. The only problem is that on phase 1, you only have archers as infantry, as opposed to javelineers from the Ghouls civilization. So I definitely give the matchup to Dr. Organs here, and definitely they must have gone random here.
Absolutely. So as we stand, we're 2 minutes 12 in, and it is 20, population of 20 for Dr. Organs, 4 infantry and 7 cavalry, versus 27 for, no, 28's just gone up, 28 population for FFM, 5 infantry, 1 cavalry. I can see that Dr. Organs is scouting as well. And he is encroaching almost into FFM's territory. I don't know if this is going to be a scout or a cheeky raid. What targets has he got down here? There's a fair few female citizens there. He's coming in through the left of the map. Dr. Organs has spotted him, and their cavalry are having a bit of a face-off about this. It's early contentious point, Baduso. Are we going to see early casualties here? Is he going to pull out or go back in?
Yeah, as you can see here, we see that Dr. Organs is playing very aggressive. He only has 7 women and already has 11 cavalry. And he already just noticed that FFM only has berries and not hunt. Since this is a balanced map and he had hunt and just a little bit, he notices now that FFM has only berries. So I figured that Dr. Organs will probably be very aggressive here at the start. But we see that FFM was actually make a single kill here, so that's good for him.
Absolutely, that first brave but ultimately forlorn attack there ended in the death of that cavalryman. But there is more to come. Looking further up the map, Dr. Organs has committed a larger cavalry force. It's the remaining 10 cavalry that he's got. They are coming in through that same flank. And what targets has he got to choose from? At the front wood line, there are 9 female citizens, 5 infantry. At the berries at the back, there are, as you mentioned, the 8 women down there, and he's making an absolute beeline for it. This could be a bit of a slaughter. There is a house nearby, but I think that escape route has been cut off. We are probably very shortly going to see our first proper raid. Indeed we have. So 2 kills now registered before, and they're still going after. The women are wandering off south. They've got nowhere to go. So a bit unfortunate. It's 3 kills for Dr. Organs. And they're now making, well, they're not going to make it to the CC. And that's, they've pretty much seen them off. So that could have been worse, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could have been worse, but it could also have been better for FFM. And this defense so far, I think will probably be quite decent for FFM, but he could have taken fewer losses, especially if he had made the house really near the berries. I think that would have helped quite a lot. If you have 6 women near the berries, you just make a house and you can garrison all the women in just one go.
Absolutely. This confrontation carries on. There's now a considerable infantry and cavalry force of FFMs shooing away the surviving cavalry. There's 7 of them left. But what this has done, basically FFM has had to pull all of his female citizens from the northern wood line back down to this single tree near the CC. So there's that will have slowed down his sort of resource gathering a bit. Dr. Organs has left three cav in, and they're just more causing a bit of a nuisance. I think they're just gonna sort of hassle and harangue them there. It's an aggressive start. Hasn't made a huge amount of difference to populations, but so it's still 41 plays 40. If you're in Dr. Organ's position, what do you do now? You've sort of stolen a bit of March. You've got all that cav. How do you maintain the pressure?
Yeah, I'm not sure Dr. Organs actually can keep a lot of pressure at the moment, because he needs to migrate his economy to farms as soon as possible, and he does not have any hunt anymore. He may be able to get a few kills, but the damage that he got already is pretty good. He got some indirect damage. As you mentioned, FFM had to relocate his woodcutters, and he had also some idle units for quite a bit of time. But as you can see here, I think that Dr. Organs should focus a little bit on his economy. A lot of idle units, especially near his civic center, and he hasn't made any farms yet.
Moving on, we'll have a look. That raid has come to an end. Funnily enough, FFM has decided to follow Dr. Organs all the way back to his base. I think he's going to use this as an opportunity to scout a bit as well. Dr. Organs doesn't seem to be letting up. FFM has sort of split his cavalry. They're now coming in and going after the women that ended up idle after. So I almost caught him unawares. So got a few kills back himself. Looking further down, there is still confrontation going on at this end near the wood line. So it's all it's end-to-end stuff, Medusa. It's are they going to settle down and just focus on their economies pretty soon? Or do you think this is the blueprint for the game? Is it going to be up one end and then back down the other and counterattacks?
No, I don't think so. I think it will be a very scrappy game, especially talking about FFM and Dr. Organs. FFM is a very aggressive player, as Dr. Organs is as well, so I wouldn't expect anything else from this matchup.
Absolutely. So what we have got at the moment is a small infantry force and 4 surviving cav of FFM now coming in for this wood line over here, which has got 18 women there, but there's a fair bit of infantry there. We have nine infantrymen around, but not that much in the way of. There's a few skirmishers, so there's some range, but they're more causing an annoyance. What this has done is pretty much even things up, to be honest. Population-wise, Dr. Organ's population 46 plays the 44. It's dropping a bit now for FFM. It's 14 kills for Dr. Organs and 12. So it's changing all the time. It's now 15 kills for Dr. Organ, 13 for FFM. Things settling down a bit. FFM reluctant to pull his infantry out, keeping the pressure on. The question will be, is he sort of macroing at the same time that he's causing all this aggression up the top of the map? Dr. Organs, as you said, has belatedly gone to farming, but he's now instantly got company from cavalry for FFM on this side and infantry coming on the other side. This is quite clever tactical play. It's diversion and distraction, isn't it, Bedoso?
You're talking about FFM or Dr. Organs?
FFM attacking Dr. Organs near his base.
Okay, I think FFM is overextending a lot here. You can see that Dr. Organs already has made some farms. Just now, FFM is making his 3rd farm, and I think Dr. Organs might have taken the edge here. I think FFM overextended a lot, and especially since you have much weaker civilization in terms of economy. Goals have very good economy bonuses. I think FFM overextended a lot.
It's a good point. If we look at the populations now, it's gone kind of around. It's gone the other way, basically. Dr. Organs now has. It's only a small lead. It's 57 total population, plays 43. But that excursion does seem to have cost FFM rather more than it cost Dr. Organs. In terms of kills, it's 20 for Dr. Organs versus 13 for FFM. There's not much in it in terms of infantry, and Dr. Organs has a slight advantage in terms of cavalry numbers, but it seems to be settling down a little bit now. So we've got a lull in the aggression. What would you be doing if you were either of these players? How would you take the next attack? I say that.
Yeah,
Dr. Organs is now coming in. I think you've got about 5 seconds until Dr. Organs' cavalry comes in. What would you be doing next, Medusa?
Yeah, as FFM, I would be a little bit more defensive since you are on the worst end of the civilization matchup, and especially since Dr. Organs is a very aggressive player. I would, if I were FFM, I will bet on making more sentry towers and making sure that Dr. Organs always gets very bad trades anytime that he gets in. As for Dr. Organs, maybe I would just put the brake a little bit on his aggression. I mean, he can still use his cavalry. Instead of going for the wood lines, trying to harass the food economy from FFM should be really good, especially since FFM has nothing to protect there. So yeah, I think for both of these players, from Dr. Organ's end, I would caution just going for a more targeted approach, and for FFM to try and get good trades with a more defensive approach as well.
Absolutely. No sign of the towers that you mentioned. Looks like FFM really doesn't like doing defense. Dr. Organ's not able to get any change out of that last raid. Tried to come in from multiple angles. There are cavalry of FFM's now patrolling and marauding, and he knows he's there, doesn't he? He's just trying to preempt where he's going to come from.
Yeah, here from FFM end, you can see already that Dr. Organs is just extending his lead as much as the game goes on, and I think this will be very hard to reverse. So one of the ways that FFM could recover would be just getting these good trades. But you can see that Dr. Organs is actually being very careful and not suiciding his units. I just don't like that FFM made a lot of cavalry. They are very expensive, and if you are not getting really great trades, they are really bad for you because you don't have the bonuses, the economy bonuses from the other civilization.
Absolutely. Looks like Dr. Organs has gone right the way around the map, around the far side of FFM's base. So he's seen the whole of his base. Not really able to make inroads, but at the same time that he's doing this, he has now opened up what looks like quite a sizable lead. It's 89 plays 61 for 89 for Dr. Organs, 61. Sorry, now we've got up to 65 for FFM. There is a bit of a chase on now. For the first time, looks like FFM has got superior numbers, or at least matching numbers in terms of cav. Dr. Organ splitting his cavalry up, trying to get away from this chase. It'll be. Are you expecting FFM to overextend himself again and carry that on?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think FFM must be aware that he's not in such a good lead at the moment. I think he definitely needs to use his cavalry. As you can see, he's approaching the base here. He can snipe a man or snipe a few units, but he can't stay there for a long time. Yeah, and that's what he's doing. I think that's good, but he should not stay too much long. And yeah, he lost a few cavalry there. But yeah, I think what FFM is doing is good. He needs to use his cavalry, but he definitely should not overextend. And I don't think he will.
Dr. Organ sent a slightly more sizable and mixed force, a mix of sort of cavalry and infantry down there. They're attacking from the sort of the northern flank, and we are still not seeing. I think we're seeing finally. 13 minutes 24. Nobody's phased up, but we're seeing a sentry tower from FFM towards the north of his base to try and sort of close out that flank. Typically, FFM now responding with aggression. He's gone up to the north of the map. It's coming straight in through the front of the base. It's pulled Dr. Organs away from... he was probably retreating to heal up his troops, but they're forced back into action. So we now have a confrontation right on the southern border of Dr. Organs' territory. That didn't last long either. FFM has to pull back again. So it's minor skirmishes, but I wouldn't say that lead is extending, Medusa, but it's holding steady, isn't it, at the moment in terms of population?
Yeah, it snowballs from here on. I mean, if you have a 10 population lead at something like 5 minutes, this will reflect in something like 50 population lead at 10 minutes, you know. So most RTSs work this way. If you got even a small lead on the beginning of the game, it snowballs really quickly later on. So I would expect Dr. Organs to extend his advantage. But FFM made a good job. He was, I think, 10 units behind in terms of killed versus lost, and he has equalized that a little bit with some decent trades. I'm just not sure if FFM can attack, and I think he's intending to do that soon enough.
I think a lot could depend on how fast. Now he's reached population of 115. We would expect in Dr. Organs to phase up pretty soon, possibly ram home his advantage. He still seems to. He's gone back to hunting. He's found hunt in the middle of the map, so we have a little bit of a quiet moment. It's like both waiting for one or the other to go charging down. It's been exciting stuff. It's been end-to-end stuff. As I say that, FFM has launched all of his cavalry out again. I wonder if we're going to see another raid here, and Dr. Organs appears to be now taking the slightly more conservative approach. He's building up. I'm just going to see if he's anywhere near phasing up. He's got 10 women coming out, so it's going to be a little while yet as FFM comes in, and it's a considerable cav force. It is 13 cavalry, only 3 infantry in the vicinity, and a garrisoned sentry tower, so it doesn't really want to hang around there too much. But no, Dr. Organs hasn't really left that many soft targets, has he, Badu? So there's not a lot for him to easily pick off from distance at this point.
Yeah, Dr. Organs actually has done what I expected FFM to do. Dr. Organs made some sentry towers, and you can see that FFM is losing a lot there in the range of those towers. And that's actually the opposite of what should have happened. Dr. Organs should have been the aggressors, and FFM should have been defending. And so as a result of this, and FFM attacking when he maybe would be advisable not to do that, this lead will be extended quite a bit for Dr. Organs.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like an aggressive move. He did get one tower down and he's going for another one. But Dr. Organs immediately put up a tower right next to the base. He is happily collecting resources. He is in a position, he may not choose to take it, but he could potentially go to phase 2 straight away. So for all this effort and bluster, the only person who seems to be benefiting from this at the moment is Dr. Organs, despite all the aggression from FFM. Has he taken the... he's still not taken the option to go to phase 2. He's not producing anyone, but hasn't taken it. Do you think that's just distraction, or is this tactical, Medusa?
I think Dr. Organs is phasing up quite soon. And yeah, you can see the population difference right now is 40 to 5 population. Usually these players, they like to extend phase 1 for quite a bit. In a game, in a slower paced game, you would phase up at around 100, 120, 130. And I think Dr. Organs might go phasing up at about 150 population.
Ironically, FFM has pushed the button on going to phase 2. He's about 3 seconds away from it. He is actually going to get to phase 2 first. Obviously, still with this large population deficit, my scores are saying 147 plays 100 and 109. But interestingly, Dr. Organs has got double the, almost double the amount of infantry. It's got 83 plays FFM's 43, and it's now FFM who's got the cav. But we're starting to see straight away FFM is going for the phase 2 buildings. There's the temple going up right on the northern tip of the map. Has Dr. Organs pushed? Yep, Dr. Organs has now phased up quickly as well. So entering into phase 2. How do you normally go about phase 2? Are you is it always temple first, or I tend to go market first with mine? What do you normally do when you phase up, Baduso?
Yeah, it depends on the game. Especially for team games, usually you are quite safe in having a definite mark. But for 1v1 is a little bit more complex than that, because you have to take into account what the other player is doing. If you, for example, the other player is being quite aggressive, you need those 500 food and have 500 wood to defend. So it depends on the matchup. Usually I'd say for 1v1 around 100, 150 population. I think that would be a good measure. And we see some players, like for example Borg, that perform timing attacks, because when you reach phase 2 or phase 3, you get a bonus in in health for the units. So we call that a P2 push or a P2 attack. You just go out of the base as soon as you phase 2, and you reach the opponent with all your units with 10% plus health. So that's another situation where you might want to phase up. And the other situation is when, for example, you want to make fanatics, or in the case of FFM, phasing up earlier, he's able to make javelineers earlier instead of using archers, so he is able to defend a little bit better from Dr. Organs.
Cool. It looks like say no other phase 2 buildings, but you're not wrong about that population jump. Dr. Organs now showing a bit of aggression. He's reached 200, plays 134 for FFM, and lots of cavalry being spammed out now. It's like 13 cavalry for Dr. Organs. They're going, and almost double the amount of infantry. FFM trying to be aggressive in the north I'm not sure if he's fully aware of what's building down the south. There's lots of cav just hiding out of the way there. How is this going to go? It's a strange one, isn't it? You would say on numbers, it's probably still with Dr. Organs. Is FFM this focusing on this aggression? Is this going to cost him in the end? Should he really be working on, maybe getting a couple of extra barracks down, trying to bolster those numbers and get back to parity? Is he just storing up problems for the future with the aggression?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure why he's doing that. As you can see here, Dr. Organs is actually, with the distraction from the units on the north, took a few good kills on the farms of FFM, and I think this is not good for FFM. I mean, Dr. Organs is doing what I said the FFM should be doing before. We can see a lot of towers all garrisoned, and FFM keeps trying to push there, and I'm not sure why he does that, because that is never going to be a good trade for him. So,
it's almost like a sucker punch, isn't it? He's like waiting for FFM to do something aggressive, because he knows he's going to leave himself wide open back at his base, like he did there, as you said, with that cavalry charge. In terms of kills, all this aggression, FFM at this moment in time has actually killed more. It's 42 kills for FFM, 34 for Dr. Organs, although Dr. Organs still picking off individual units back at FFM's base. But the bigger picture, the 201 population plays 139. This surely is going to count as a huge advantage, unless Dr. Organs makes an absolute clanger of phase 2 going into phase 3, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't expect FFM to recover here. That said, however, I'm not sure Dr. Organs has enough to go to phase 3. He needs a little bit more stone to do that. So there are circumstances in which some players can recover quite well, but unfortunately I don't think this is the case here. We see that Dr. Organs is being able to push out FFM even in the vicinity of a temple in the tower. So if that's not indication of overwhelming advantage on this game, I don't know what it is.
Absolutely. So we have conflict going here. FFM having to retreat, from basically his own temple. Interesting, he went for the chariots there. That was I've not seen many of the Persian chariots. That's he's gone for quite a few of them, but it doesn't seem to be helping him at the moment. But I would be concerned if I were FFM at this point. I think it's just too many attacks and too much stuff going on. Neither player in a position to phase up at the moment. FFM still lacking 3 tank class buildings. Dr. Organs is almost, like I said, just lacking a bit of stone. I think if he gets to phase 3, with the numerical advantage that he's got, that numerical advantage has just grown. He's absolutely slaughtering FFM for fun down here. He can't get... His population has now dropped to about 96. It's a pretty bloodthirsty battle. I think this is now coming to a sort of a natural end there. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. They were... How much benefit would have some sentry towers in the area of that confrontation been for FFM? I don't think Dr. Organs would have got anywhere near there. I know he's got one sort of tower now near. He's actually lost that temple at the top there. Yeah, I can't help feeling that you're absolutely right. He should have put towers up sooner.
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest problem is not only not making towers sooner, but the attitude to keep trying to attack Dr. Organs when you didn't have good trades at the start, and when you actually have underpowered civilization. So I think FFM, the biggest mistake was being too ambitious with his attacks. And we can see that Dr. Organs is even going to phase 3 at the moment. And yeah, I think this is pretty much over for FFM at this stage.
Absolutely. As you say there, right on cue, commentator's curse, Dr. Organs does press the button and go into phase 3, but not after he has committed quite a considerable force of infantry. They're trying to capture that tower. I don't think they're going to manage the tower, but yeah, I think it's more just distractions, just drawing FFM in. There's not a lot he can do. FFM not still in a position to get anywhere near phase 3. Only needs another 2 buildings, but completely preoccupied with this attack. It is 100 lead, and hardly any infantry left for FFM, so it's looking pretty desperate. Have you ever seen anybody turn a match around from these sort of odds before?
Yeah, I've definitely seen this. There were a couple games I casted in which, for example, I think it was Shrine Priester versus Chillerville, in which a player gets a very good defensive position and the other player keeps committing to an attack that is never going to pay off, and finally the defending player is able to overcome. I think that's possible, but I think that's not the case here because FFM keeps committing units to the attack. And make no mistake, I think you can attack, you can be effective attacking and keeping the pressure on. The only problem is that FFM got bad trades at the start and he has only archers, and archers, they are really not good in this patch. So yeah, I think this is not going well for FFM, and this decision to attack just amplified this natural disadvantage that this matchup offers.
We have 2 situations to look at. There's one in Dr. Organ's base where FFM has sent a whole load of cav through, took out quite a lot of women. If you were looking at just the kill count, it looks pretty even, but in the middle, I think, is the true story there. Dr. Organ's pressing relentlessly through. He has now captured that tower, so there is a huge bulge in the territory leading towards FFM's base, and it seems that all he can do to keep him back, it's a relentless tide. The temple has gone down. Dr. Organs has now reached phase 3. I don't know whether... I think the sort of the dominance here, possibly we could see FFM resign pretty soon if he gets pushed back any further, don't you think?
Yeah, I think this game is quite over.
Yeah, it'd be a shame if we don't get some siege out. It would be nice to see a bit of siege, but there it goes, right on cue. FFM has seen the writing on the wall. I think that was the pattern of the game. It was just going to go. We'll just exit out of the replay here. Yeah, I mean, they probably could have eked it out for another 5-10 minutes, but Dr. Organs was just relentlessly pushing FFM back, and there was no way back. What would you say was the pivotal moment then, Baduso, in that match?
Yeah, I think the initial engagements were quite decent for FFM. I really like his position after the initial raids from Dr. Organs. Even though he lost a little bit, I think FFM was in a good position at this stage. Unfortunately, I think FFM overreacted a little bit more than he should have, and this is critical. You can't make any mistakes when you are up against a similar level player with much better civilization, and I think that is just tipping the scales even more. And what I think was the turning point is when FFM decides to be aggressive, when he's on a lower population, lower infantry count, and Dr. Organs with the remaining cavalry from those other raids that would otherwise be useless if FFM was acting defensive. Now they can get value because the army from FFM is on the front there, trying to be aggressive. So yeah, I think that was the biggest problem here for FFM. And Dr. Organs from now on just overextended his lead.
Yeah, I get the feeling FFM is one of those players that has one gear, and that gear is attack. From the looks of it, so it's almost like Dr. Organs started off very aggressively. Did that one attack almost to kind of will him down. He knew he was going to get that response, and I think he fancied his chances against that Civ. I think he knows how to basically produce with the Gauls very, very fast. And like you said, he got a clear advantage early on. You think FFM would have been aware that he was at a slight population disadvantage and just carried on anyway?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It depends on the player's game awareness. I think what makes it different, a good player for a really, really great player is the game awareness. So I think in this case it lacked a little bit here for FFM. I'm not even sure that Dr. Organs has that as well. What I can just say though is that it would have definitely make a very big difference. And I think that FFM, you mentioned that he has only one gear. I don't think that's true. I think FFM is actually playing the player here. He knows that Dr. Organs is aggressive, so he's playing the game that Dr. Organs plays. In
Okay.
team games, for example, FFM is a little bit more reserved, even though it's very enjoyable to see when he goes for very, how can I say, weird rushes. It's very entertaining to see those. For 1v1, I really think the FFM is more aggressive than the average player, but the fact that he's playing Dr. Organs here intensifies that, in my opinion.
Absolutely. It is exciting to watch, and I bet when it works for him, it looks brilliant. But when it goes wrong, as we've seen here, it went wrong quite catastrophically. We'll just round up the all the stats and the scores. So total score. Dr. Organs finished with a total of 7,752, plays FFM's 5,767. His economy and military score was also superior. Looking across at units, now interestingly, in terms of kills, FFM got more kills, but like I said, he was always up against it in terms of being a deficit with numbers. If we look at the kill-death ratio, Dr. Organs was vastly superior. It's 1.19, plays 0.87. And nobody went in for techs at all. There we go, not the most technical game in the world, was it, Medusa? It was basically point and shoot and charge and retreat. And the one tactical move was really something FFM. It was more that what he didn't do rather than anything else. So, but an exciting game nonetheless. Let's have a quick look through. Yeah, markets and everything else didn't really come into it. So, yeah, I enjoyed that as a first game, as a first test of dual commentary. It was good. I'm a bit disappointed we didn't get any siege, but never mind. But we'll have to do another one of these at some point and see if we can get a big long tactical siege game going. But all it remains to say, congratulations to Dr. Organs for a pretty emphatic win in the end. Looked like it was going to be close, but then it just basically ran away with it. Fair play to FFM. I'll have to watch some more of his games and see these other styles that he's got, and I'll have to apologise to him for accusing him of having one gear. Badusa, great to have you with us. Will you come back for another game at some point?
Well, of course, and I would also invite you to cast a game with me as well.
You don't want to do that. You'll find out how little I know about 0AD when I'm not commentating. I can feel the dead air, but we'll see. We'll have to see. I'll give it a go. So, congratulations to Dr. Organs. He got a pretty comprehensive win in the end, and congrats to FFM. He made it a bit of a contest, even though it was possibly a little bit too headstrong. Thanks again to Badoso for joining us. Are you up for doing another one of these?
For sure. Just let me know, and let's do it again.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a comment, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon to be notified of future episodes. If you'd like one of your matches featured on the show, see the video description of how you can submit your replays. And if you can't wait for the next episode, then why not check out these playlists in the end titles for more replays, commentary, and tutorials on 0AD Newbie Rush. I'll see you in the next video.